Ladies and gentlemen, now I invite our program chair, Shri L.K.Atheeq, Additional Chief Secretary, RDPR Department, Government of Karnataka, for his keynote address. Over to you, sir.
Good morning to all of you. The Consul General of Israel to South India, Madam Tammy Benhem, my colleagues on the dais, and all the dear participants. So, after Uma Mahadevan, my colleague in the RDPR, and Shubha Kalyan, our Director of E-Governance, spoke, I'm wondering what is there for me to say, because they have covered most of what we are doing in terms of rural e-governance. So I'll just make certain broad points, and also it's a pleasure to see Shakil here. Shakil and I worked together in PMO a long time back. So I'm glad to address this National E-Governance Conference, which is actually rural e-governance, and we are especially pleased that the focus is on rural areas. RDPR has been at the forefront of implementing technologies in the rural areas, not in our time, but much before. Our predecessors have, right from 2010 onwards, a lot of work has been done in the department. We created a software called Panchtantra. We created a software called eSottu. The officers and technocrats responsible are all here. Mr. Samarthram is here, who has been handling eSottu for a long time. We have created a work monitoring software way back in 2014 called Gandhi Sakshi Kayaka. So many initiatives have been done. What we have done in the last 3-4 years is that, because most of the softwares need an upgrade. Once we make it, we cannot continue to be with the legacy, and it's a little difficult to upgrade and go beyond the legacy, because there are several issues of change management. I thought these are some of the broad principles we should be, you are all of course aware, but still it is always important to emphasize that the difficulties we face in managing the change, managing new software, and particularly in rural areas where the number of governance entities are actually 6,000 plus about 250. So about 6,250, which means 6,000 panchayats, about 230 taluks, and about 30 districts. So about 6,260 to 275 entities are there. At various level, we need to percolate the knowledge, and we need to bring them on board. And not only percolate the knowledge and bring them on board, but from the citizens' point of view also, we need to make the citizens aware as to what their rights and rights are, as to what they can expect. Because information is power, and that information power will be used by bureaucrats at all level, including the last mile bureaucrat called the data entry operator. We have 6,000 data entry operators, and I receive a lot of complaints that these people have become very powerful. So that is actually an indication of how important e-governance becomes, because ultimately the people who control the information at the last mile is my data entry operator. And that data entry operator has enormous power. And vis-a-vis a citizen who's disempowered, who's not very confident, who doesn't know, and he'll say, computer, this doesn't work, ye kaam nahi karega, aap kal aaiye, aaj computer, server down hai. You know, this is something that whether the server is down or not. So very easy excuse to give, excuse that people can give is server down hai. So what I'm saying is that e-governance is a tool. It's an enabler, but it is never a panacea. We should never think that it is a solution to all ills of governance. Because ultimately, e-governance will implement the principles, policies that we decide. A few pitfalls of e-governance are also that, particularly in rural areas, when we are focusing on decentralization, when we want to delegate and decentralize the responsibility and authority to make decisions, often software becomes a centralizer. The other day we had gone to a field and we had an interaction with various industrialists who are in the jurisdiction of Gram Panchayats, they had several issues about, their properties are not being recorded properly. Gram Panchayats are not able to collect taxes. And most of them point out to my software, saying that because of your software, we are not able to do it. What happens generally is when you write a software, you have to standardize, you have to codify. And once you codify, we always look at principles which will have implications, policies and principles both, which have implications for the entire state. So we try to bring in rigidities there, because you say that you cannot do this. Because if you do this in Bangalore, this will affect Bidar like this. Or if you do it in rural areas of Bijapur, that will be misused by people in Bangalore, because the property values here are very, very high. So the point I'm making is that there is a need for a very high level of customization that needs to be done. And we have to find ways of customizing our software so that it does reflect the needs of the local level institutions as far as possible. While we are trying to centralize, when we centralize, we're trying to standardize, we end up also centralizing it. So we have to standardize. We cannot, in software, when you write something, we have to standardize. Once you make a principle, it will be applicable for the entire state. So these are some of the challenges that we are struggling with. But having a software is better than not having it. And therefore, we have to create it. And then once these problems arise, we have to be alive to those problems. We have to have a mechanism to continue to address them. So it's one of the principles in software, in e-governance, is that your task actually begins when you complete the software. You think that once you have written a software, we have inaugurated, we are very happy. The Panchtantra that I spoke about, which was designed in about 2014, I think, and we have now come up with a second version, which is much more expanded, which actually is a very broad-based governance tool, and Uma actually covered quite a bit of it. And that software, now that we are implementing it, it throws its own challenges. And we have to make sure that the 6,000 users, they are registered. We have to monitor the traffic, whether it is all being used, or whether people are trying to bypass it, or people are trying to blame the software and therefore make it ineffective. So these are the challenges that we come across. For works monitoring software, we had something called a Gandhi Sakshi Kayaka, which is basically GIS-based software, where we would insist that once a public work is completed, that the engineers in the field will go and take a picture and geotag it. And once they geotag it, and the geotagged pictures are forwarded to the accounts officer will pass the payment, and the payment will happen. Idea was that while you make a payment for public work, we should be sure that the work has actually been done. Then we realized that people are taking some other picture and then uploading it. Then we said that to counter that, we said that if a photo has to be taken on a mobile, and the mobile has to be at the geolocation, and then only it will be. So therefore, we try to avoid uploading of the picture at the desk in the district headquarters or at the taluka headquarters. Then we realized that people are still going, people are going to the field, and there also they are taking a picture of some other work. The geolocation problem is solved. Picture is uploaded, and payment is made. The work is actually not done. The point I'm trying to make here is that whatever you do, there will always be people who will find loopholes to beat the system or to game the system. So we have to be constantly be vigilant, and we have to continue to work on this. So these are some of the challenges that we need to be aware. We need to keep it in mind. And the third point is that we should never try to apply technology and e-governance on a system as it is. We have to first of all question whether this system is required or not. This is my favorite example. Every time I say that you mandate that a certain certificate has to be taken from a bureaucrat. And that certificate is not being given. There is a lot of corruption, and therefore what we'll do is, what is the solution for corruption? E-governance is a solution. Then you say, okay, we will go and automate the whole thing. We will say that the application can be uploaded, document can be uploaded, and then we will bring in a time guarantee through Sakala, that unless the application is disposed of in 15 days, then somebody else will be notified on the top, and the top person will issue a notice to the person, why you have kept this matter more than 15. You do all this, so much of dressing is done, so much of e-governance, so many jobs are created, but one fundamental question was not asked, whether that certificate is required at all. Maybe that permission is not required at all. So the point is, there are a lot of things that can be done by changing the governance itself. You don't need certain things. Why don't you discard those outdated things? First question we need to ask is, before computerizing it or before automating it, before implementing e-governance principles, e-governance on a certain practice, first question is that practice, is that permission, approval is required at all? If it is not required, just discard it. Discard, of course, it takes political decision, it takes political will to discard certain things. For example, land conversion. I would always say that you discard it, you don't need land conversion. But it is very, very difficult to get rid of land conversion, and therefore we build a lot of e-governance into it. The more you build e-governance, the more people will find loopholes into it. They say that within 30 days it has to be approved, otherwise it's taken to be deemed approval. On 29th day, a bureaucrat will raise a small objection and return it. And then the compliance has to come, the 30 days more will, the clock will be set back, and then 30 days more will be counted. So all sorts of, there are ways to defeat this, and therefore what we need to do is, while we look at building e-governance tools on certain governance practices, first question we need to do is whether those practices are required, or you discard it, or even if it is required, is there a better way of doing that practice? Can you cut down the levels? Can you simplify it? All those questions should be asked, then we should apply technology on it, and not just apply technology on any outdated system. Therefore, business process reengineering, I have been hearing this since I joined service 30 years ago, but still we are not able to successfully do it. Having said that, I'm not saying that we have not come a long way. We have. And in fact, now we have come a long way. In fact, many of the e-governance things we do now are taken as standard. You know, we have to do it. If you had not done it, then it is really, you're really out of touch. But so we have to now go forward and look at new challenges. That's what so some of the last point I would like to make is that there are a lot of new emerging tools and technologies that we need to look at. We need to look at drone technology. The drones, in fact, can minimize a lot of time that we spend on inspecting roads, looking at their conditions, monitoring, etc. So drone technology, how do we integrate drone technology into e-governance software is something that we have to keep looking at. GIS, again, GIS is not a new thing. This has been there last 20-25 years. We have been talking about it. But increasingly applying GIS to most of the things that we do, which has special element, is very important. We are not doing enough of GIS integration. Shilpa is going to talk about it during the day, I suppose, how we are using GIS in NREGA implementation. So there again, it should go beyond just geotagging a photo, because photo, anything you can be, I keep joking with my officers, you can upload a Aishwarya Rai's picture and you can still get paid for a CC road work, because by the time somebody discovers that it is the picture of a film actress, the payment is already made, and then it becomes a post-mortem issue. So therefore, we should not be happy that, you know, we have a geotagged and therefore the problem is solved. Problems are not solved. We have to go much beyond just geotagging. We have to look at various new ways of doing things. And one of the, recently I got a paper from Chief Secretary Madam, which was this thick complaint, where it was said that the same road has been paid for under different schemes. So what I'm saying is, despite all the technologies we are using, etc., we are still not able to avoid fraud, where the same road gets measured again and again, and payment gets made. So there we have geospatial technologies. We have been implementing it. We have been geotagging our assets. Despite this, it is possible to commit fraud, and frauds do happen. So there are a lot of challenges that the e-governance continues to face. We have done a lot of work, but there are a lot of challenges. And I'm sure this e-governance, rural e-governance conference or workshop that we are doing today will throw light on some of the issues that all of us have highlighted today. And I wish the National E-Governance, Rural E-Governance Summit all the best. And I thank the organizers for asking us to co-host this. And I wish all of you success in this summit. Thank you.